Tonight on CFTK-TV News, the BVX makes its return for the 105th time ever. The Paralympics are starting up in just 2 days, and why schools around the province have different guidelines for phone usage.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, I'm Damian Smith, and thank you for joining us here on CFTK-TV. In Smithers, the Bulkley Valley exhibition was underway this weekend with rodeos, vendors, and live music coming together to finish off the summer on a high note. The fair has been around since 1919, and as Jaylene Matthews reports, it's still going strong.
The weather cooperated and the crowds came out for the annual Bulkley Valley exhibition.
Yesterday it was a record day for us. Yesterday, Saturday here at the BVX, it was an all-time record for us.
Along with the music, rodeo, and food, the event also features vendors and demonstrations like wood carving.
That's the gig to be at this weekend. I carved a lot of things live and people really enjoyed watching me doing demonstrations here with my saws and transforming a block of wood into a chicken, for example. Yeah, that's this year's. They steal the show. I carve a lot of nice looking stuff like bears, beavers, eagles, owls, you name it, but the chickens, that's it this year.
And we even found some elected officials in the crowd.
A few raindrops, but overall this is an amazing event. And you just think about the fact that it's been going on for, I think, over 100 years here in the Bulkley Valley. Something people look forward to every year.
We had a fellow here this morning looking for support for their kid, and there was some flaw in the system. And those are great because it gives us and me the real living proof of something that is intended this way, but it's not quite working out. Could we change it? Could we appeal it? That kind of stuff I love, because we take all the notes, get the information, and with a fall fair, something like this, with just hundreds of people, and you just every once in a while you get something that if we can fix this, it's going to really change someone's life. So that's kind of a real bonus. You just don't expect it all the time.
And if you missed the BBX but still want to hit the carnival, Shooting Star Amusements will be taking their setup on the road in the Northwest.
We leave here, we're going to go to Kitimat for a couple of days, and then we end up in Terrace on the weekend, and then back down to the coast.
For CFTK-TV News, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
Towards the end of the previous week, the Terrace Sportsplex played host to a Ringette training camp that was run by the National Ringette School. The camp attracted about 63 total young athletes, with quite a few of them being from Terrace, but also saw people from places like Smithers and Houston attend, as well as it also being the first time this camp has ever been held in northern BC. Along with the on-ice work, the camp also included training off of the ice, as well as which we saw the athletes work on the likes of strength training, team building, even learned about proper nutrition. And as a way to hopefully get more people to play the game, a Come Try Ringette event will be held in the same place on September 15th and will be available for everyone older than 3 years of age. Provincially, we have an update on rent around British Columbia. From the Ministry of Housing, they are trying to change the annual allowable rent increase in 2025 to inflation at 3%, down from this year's 3.5%. The Minister of Housing, Ravi Cologne, noted that this tie will save renters hundreds of dollars to protect renters from unfair hikes. In addition to the province also implementing the annual renters tax credit, which provides $400 a year to low and moderate income renters across BC. The maximum allowable rent increase cannot take effect before January 1st. The federal government says that they are going to tear down governmental buildings and implement housing for Canadians. While this may be hopeful for headlines to many Canadians, apparently this is a similar storyline that emerged back in 2015. And with that, Christina Tenaglia from CTV has more on this story.
We're building homes on federal lands.
This isn't a realtor. It's Canada's housing minister, promoting a government program that frees up federally owned properties to build homes.
There are thousands of federal properties in every part of this country that aren't doing much right now.
So the Liberals say they'll make better use of these lands. 56 properties, the size of 2,000 hockey rinks, to be freed up, as announced in the 2024 budget. 5 sites are ready for builders to submit proposals, with the potential for 25,000 units. This location in Toronto's northwest end. The other spots? Ottawa, Calgary, Edmonton, and Montreal. The government says the goal is to lease the properties to builders long term. With builders committing to build affordable housing, construction can begin as early as January.
The news is good,
but not good enough, says this housing advocate.
But they also proposed doing something like this actually in their 2015 platform. It's moving the right direction in the same way that a turtle is running a marathon. It really doesn't tell you how close you're getting to the finish line.
The conservative housing critic doubled down on the delay.
9 years later, 5 properties are ready to go. They can start building on them. They keep promising, and the situation just keeps getting worse.
Just this week, a report notes the average home price in Toronto is $1.1 million. In Vancouver, it's $1.2. The average income needed to purchase a home in these markets is between about $210,000 to $227,000. The median after-tax income for Canadian families is about $68,000. With an election on the horizon, this expert suggests the government's move to speed up construction may be too late.
There may be a number of voters who want to turn the page and get a new government in the hopes that that government will do a better job on that.
The government also announced a new tool for builders that allows them to submit proposals. The Liberals say this is all part of their plan to build 250,000 new homes by 2031.
Coming up next, we'll get a deep dive on how schools will manage cell phone usage from around the provinces. Welcome back. Well, back to school shopping will be in full swing this week, and there's questions that Canadian schools are asking, with most provinces holding different answers. And with that is cell phone usage. Here is Camille Karamali from CTV News.
Backpacks, binders, and books, but there's one item some parents are happy not to have on the back-to-school shopping list.
I totally believe that the phone is a distraction in the classroom as well.
New cell phone bans ringing in the school year. Teachers, though, calling the new rules confusing.
We're going to spend more time policing cell phones than actually teaching.
The cell phone bans in classrooms are different across the country, depending on the province. Ontario has a tiered system. Cell phones must be put away until grade 6. After that, it's up to the teacher to determine when it's used.
There will be a lot of inconsistencies across the board.
Manitoba allows any student past grade 8 to use their phone only outside of the classroom during breaks. Both Saskatchewan and Nova Scotia have bans during class time for all grades. This September, Alberta students won't be able to use their phones in class except for health reasons. But each school division has been given until the new year to create their own policies, similar to BC, where each school district has its own rules.
That becomes a problem because sometimes you could have one set of rules in a school that is literally across the street from another school that has a different set of rules.
Education policy experts worry the new rules are being put in place too fast with not enough of a transition for students.
Ideally, there would be time for discussions with students to get full buy-in.
And no support for teachers, possibly leading to educators not bothering to implement the ban.
So they didn't receive support from school administrators when trying to enforce these rules, and they didn't receive support from parents.
Teachers asking for smaller class sizes and teaching assistants to help with enforcement, while some provinces instead adding funding to mental health initiatives to counter the effects of cell phone use. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
The number of active wildfires in BC continues to drop after rain fell across the southern part of the province, but crews say high winds have also created tree hazards. The BC Wildfire Service said one fire camp near Invermere was relocated due to high winds. However, no one was injured in the incident. The Wildfire Service said heavy rain fell on parts of southern BC, with precipitation recorded across much of the region, lowering fire activity as the number of active blazes fell from 340 to about 311. The Coria Creek wildfire near Terrace remains the only wildfire of note in BC, as the 2 square kilometer blaze continues to burn out of control. Turning to tonight's forecast, Prince Rupert should see mainly cloudy conditions with a 40% chance of showers this evening. There might be a slight risk of thunderstorms along with a low of 10 degrees. The Terrace and Kitimat area should see the same outcome with cloudy chances and a 40% chance of showers, though a low of 7 degrees and wind coming from the southeast at 20 kilometers per hour. And finally, the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District will also have a 40% chance of showers with a slight chance of thunderstorms early this evening. There will be heavier winds at 20 kilometers per hour, gusting to 40, cooling down later in the evening, and the low will be 5 degrees. And now onto your weekly forecast. The coast should see some rain and some clouds throughout the week, with steady temperatures not reaching to more than 17 degrees. There will be light rain for most of the week until a 60% chance of rain should be expected for the weekend. At night, there will be a low of 10 Tuesday night. In the Terrace and Kitimat area, they should see rainy days until Friday, which is when the sun will make its return, along with the high at 24 on Saturday. The low will also be at 9 degrees on Tuesday night. In the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, there might be some rain on Thursday, but other than that, it will be mainly sunny with temperatures upwards of 25 degrees. However, expect some cool nights going forward, especially Tuesday, which will be at 5 degrees. Now let's take a look at your Northwest Roadside Report. Highway 16 sees utility work in Vanderhoof, crack sealing near Telqua, utility work near Fraser Lake, construction near Burns Lake, paving operations west of McBride, and water pooling near Telegraph Rest area. Highway 37 sees maintenance near Good Hope Lake, along with maintenance and fog patches near Dease Lake. The Nishka has construction near New Ionish, and Telegraph Creek has fog patches near Dease Lake. And now let's take a look at your roadside cameras from around the Northwest. Still to come, a father and son duo from Vancouver have blessed hockey players up in Yukon. Welcome back. Well, we are 2 days away from the Paris Paralympics starting this Wednesday. And from Allison Bamford, we get an introduction about a former hockey player who turned to rowing and making a surprise addition to the Canadian team this year.
The water is Jacob Wasserman's new arena.
It's a bit of a thrill too, to be out there and on the water and doing things that I wasn't doing before I was injured.
The 24-year-old found para rowing by chance and just so happened to reach the pinnacle of sport in only his second summer on the water.
We were kind of planning for LA and prepping for that, and then just kind of got lucky.
Wasserman qualified for Paris back in March, one Paralympic cycle earlier than he was ready for.
He knows how to work, for sure.
Long before rowing, Wasserman was chasing his dreams of professional hockey. The former Humboldt Broncos goalie survived the tragic 2018 bus crash that left him paralyzed from the waist down. But his drive to compete never went away.
I've always wanted to try to push myself to be better than what I was the day before, and rowing's no different. It's a sport that you get out what you put in. I find the harder you work at it, the better your results are going to be.
And he puts in a lot. 2 sessions a day, 6 days a week. Some of the hardest workouts of his life. His times are competitive, and for his first summer games, he just wants to put up a good race.
He's demonstrated a capacity to achieve the speeds that we need to achieve ultimately. Now into Paris and beyond, it's about doing the work necessary to sustain those speeds.
Wasserman will compete in the PR1 singles event, a 2,000-meter race at the end of the month, in front of his family, who plans to be in the crowd in Paris, and his former Humboldt Broncos teammates, who will be cheering from home.
Oh, those guys are my biggest supporters. They've sent lots of words saying that they're pumped for me and they can't wait to watch me out there.
Support, he says, will be felt all the way from Paris. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Regina.
Well, for many Canadians, hockey is expensive. And for thousands of players, they may have to resort to secondhand equipment due to financial circumstances. But a young man and his father down in the mainland are doing their best to support those who are less fortunate up in Yukon. Here's Yasmin Gandam with CTV.
Cameron Lee and his father Matthew are loading up the car with hockey gear, preparing to head to the Yukon to deliver it to a hockey league who can't afford it.
Sure. We'll both do skates.
It's all part of his initiative, Sports for Support, aimed at enhancing access to community sports for youth.
I was working my part-time job at my local hockey store, and I just saw the vast amount of secondhand and used equipment, customers would ask us to dispose. So a lot of this gear that came through and was just being thrown in the garbage, for me that was a missed opportunity to provide it to a community youth that was in need.
It started in 2022, gaining more traction with donations from local community organizations. Now he's been able to collaborate with the Vancouver Canucks, receiving a sponsorship from Air North to fly up to the Yukon to deliver the gear.
All this gear is going to be distributed among all the youth in the Yukon, so Whitehorse especially, remote communities as well as Indigenous communities.
His father says it has been a joy to witness his son's passion and desire to help others, learning his own lessons along the way.
Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Make a lot of them. Make them while you're young, because that's really where the growth comes from.
The gear costs upwards of $10,000, something many families can't afford.
I got to meet a kid my age and his mother with Moms to Mom, and it was super impactful for me to provide that equipment to someone who's my age, someone who I'll play against in minor hockey.
At just 16 years old, Lee hopes the initiative can grow beyond the borders of BC, providing gear to any child who needs it.
There's more too, yeah.
Yasmin Gandam, CTV News, Vancouver.
Turn our attention to the stock market. The Canadian dollar is up 0.2 cents. The price of gold is up $2.40. Oil is up $2.33. Natural gas is down 6 cents, and aluminum is up 62. In Toronto, the TSX is up 62.89. The Venture Index is up 1.23. In New York, the Dow Jones is up 65.44, and Nasdaq is down 152.02. Still ahead, we'll get an update on whooping cough and how every province is dealing with such. Welcome back. Also announced today was the province starting their recruitment and training initiatives for the upcoming school year. This is to get some more certified teachers into BC classrooms and to build the workforce from kindergarten until grade 12. Headlined at Future Ready Action Plan, the province plans to support with $12.5 million over 3 years towards these programs, while focusing on supporting teacher retention, improving flexibility, and to hire more teachers in more remote areas. Since a teacher shortage reported back in 2021, the province is expecting about 1,700 international teacher applications in 2024, which is a 1.5 times increase. And over East, Canada has seen an increase in whooping cough, originally starting from the Maritimes. Though cases remain almost non-existent here in BC, experts are warning those with kids heading into the school year. Once again, here's Camille Karamali.
It started in Prince Edward Island and now has spread across to New Brunswick.
Whooping cough will spread quickly if it has enough vulnerable people to infect.
Whooping cough, a respiratory tract infection making it difficult to breathe, is also very contagious.
Once a stone starts rolling downhill, it tends to pick up speed, and that's what you sort of see in a situation like this.
The two provinces dealing with the latest outbreak, PEI, where there have been 11 cases this month, and New Brunswick contending with over 140 cases this year. Neighboring Nova Scotia expected to see a rise because of interprovincial travelers, and although Quebec hasn't declared an outbreak, it's seen more than 6,000 cases of whooping cough this year, while Ontario has seen more than 400 cases, parts of the country seeing regional outbreaks, with some still recovering from a surge in cases last year.
This is a Canadian issue. This is not just a New Brunswick issue.
Now a worry what this potential spread could do to already overburdened hospitals.
People can have terrible, terrible coughs. It can cause damage. It can cause significant discomfort. There's deaths that have been associated with it as well.
Those most at risk are seniors and infants. Health experts say the effectiveness of the vaccine for whooping cough starts wearing off after about a year, calling for parents to get their kids inoculated before the school year starts. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
About 3 months ago, a short trip to space was expected for 2 astronauts to be back within weeks. But since then, they've been stranded as NASA has been working to bring them back to Earth. Once again, here is Christina Tenaglia.
3, 2, 1, ignition.
A June 5th takeoff that had all the pomp and circumstance of a big mission. A short flight on the Boeing Starliner, set to last 8 days.
You got a good throttle up.
It was a test trip, the necessity of the experiment proven once things went wrong. Today, a resolution, with NASA announcing that a flight from Boeing rival SpaceX will bring the crew of 2 home.
NASA has decided that Butch and Sonny will return with Crew 9 next February.
The 2 astronauts were expecting a speedy journey. Instead, they've been stationed in space for close to 3 months.
They're working very hard on the ground to make sure that we will be able to come home before too long.
NASA maintains the crew was never stuck or in danger.
The test flight by nature is neither safe nor routine.
So after a series of glitches and leaks, now a decision to avoid any risk.
Our core value is safety.
Astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams will continue their work aboard the International Space Station over the next few months. The troubled Boeing Starliner will now return without a crew.
I think unanimously we're disappointed not to be able to do that.
The disappointment comes with the comfort that this time lives may have been saved.
We have had mistakes done in the past.
In 2003, the space shuttle Columbia broke apart as it returned to Earth.
They knew that some stuff had happened during launch for that flight, and 7 people lost their lives.
NASA's decision now adds to ongoing disappointment in Boeing's space program, adding to questions about its future.
There's going to be a lot of discussion about whether Boeing is dead in the water and that whole mission is just finished.
NASA says Boeing is committed to working on the ongoing issues with its Starliner spacecraft. It's set to land in New Mexico sometime in September.
That's all of our news for now. Thank you very much for tuning in, and good night.